out there. Sorry, I'm a couple of moments late because, I don't know, my tech was just taking a long time to connect. I wasn't late. I was here. I want credit. Just kidding. Okay, welcome. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. As usual, it is a Tuesday Q&A. I am Alison Ellis of realflowerbusiness.com, here to answer real questions from real florists, and I got 3 really good ones lined up for today, so I'm excited to jump in. If this is your first time tuning in, thanks for being here. And if you've been watching for a while, give me a thumbs up if you want to. Say hi in the comments, even if you're watching on a replay. It's just good to know that people are out there. But let's get to the questions. So I'll give you a teaser at the top for the 3 questions I chose today. So one is about, it's from a flower farmer who's like kind of struggling to make smaller bouquets and also feel like the value is there based on their market bouquet price. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what if the customer wants to provide the flowers. Very, very rare occurrence, but you might have somebody who is related to a wholesaler, right? Or they're a grower, or their mom grows a certain type of flower and they want you to use those. So we'll talk about that. And then one that I just approved this morning over in my Facebook group about using an AI assistant in your business. And I have some thoughts on that. All right, so let's dive in. Hey, Sally, good morning. I see you there. Thanks for saying hi. Good to know I'm actually broadcasting. All right, so I'm going to start with this question from the flower farmer. The question was basically, can I see some examples of your smaller bouquets that you do for weddings? Because the little quote I wrote here was, I struggle because I sell market bouquets which are priced differently. And yes, they are priced differently. And so this is a question about kind of like the perceived value of what's being sold. So for the flower farmers, you already get this. For the florists, what we're talking about is somebody comes to their booth, right, at the farmer's market, and the bouquet is $30, let's just say. And then they say, hey, can you make my wedding bouquet? And then it's $250. So that's a really big difference, right? Again, the florists, we know, because they're different products, right? And that's what I want all the farmers to understand as well. And I think probably most of you do. These are different things. That market bouquet, whatever you have it priced at, is going to be completely differently priced than a wedding bouquet. Let's break down why. Well, how many stems go in it? It's the same stem count. First of all, it's not the same stem count. But also, even if it were, right, there's a difference between gathering up multiple $30 bouquets and just throwing them together and curating one excellent, let's say perfect, I'm going to go out on a limb, perfect wedding bouquet. Really, really different. So for a wedding bouquet, what goes into that? You're going to have a consultation. Even if it's just a phone call, there's a consultation. Most likely, if you have a farm, somebody's going to want to come to it. It's like if you give a mouse a cookie, right? You give somebody a wedding bouquet, they're going to want to come to your farm. Do you even have time for that kind of stuff, right? So these are the things where you have to understand what the customer is looking for from you for their wedding is more time, more attention, more custom, and more back and forth. For that $30 market bouquet, no one sent you 5 emails about it, asking you about the size of it or what's going to be in it this week or anything like that, right? No one asked to come to your farm to see it or ask for a follow-up consultation. You didn't have to write a custom quote to somebody trying to explain all the nuances and the detail of what they're looking for. That's why it's priced differently. It's not about stems. I cannot emphasize this enough. The number of stems you have doesn't equate to the value. Use an orchid as an example. One stem of orchid which has many orchids on it, right, has a completely different both perceived value and monetary value than one stem of zinnia. This is why we can't go, well, it has this many stems in it. Well, what are the stems? What's the value of the stems? What's the size of the stems and the condition of the stems? Because when we have lots of stems, but it's all filler, or I saw somebody making a centerpiece the other day. It was so, I had to contain my rage, actually. It was like this incredibly expensive centerpiece made with practically dead material. And yeah, maybe that's what the centerpiece would be if these flowers were full value. However, if no one's going to buy that at that price, this is just an exercise in content creation. You're just trying to get my attention to watch this thing, but you're not selling this to somebody at that price, right? So this is where the reality of that perceived value rubs up against the stem count. Because while the stem count in this centerpiece might have been almost $200 or whatever it was, the perceived value of it, as a professional florist myself, I would be generous to even say it was $65, okay? So this is where if you can price it but you can't sell it, that's just nothing. That's a big and nothing burger, right? Nothing's gonna come of that. But if we have our things aligned where we have the perceived value matches what they received, then you can charge more. And if anyone questions you, well, hey, that market bouquet is only $30. Why is this bridal bouquet $150 or $250 or whatever the case may be for you? Well, because I'm going to put more time and attention and care, and because of this conversation we're having right now, that's part of the cost of the bouquet. We talked about this last week, maybe even the week before that. So maybe it was the week before that. Your cost for your time has to be accounted for somewhere. So unless you want to bill them per hour for every call or email that you exchange, that's going to be built in to your design fee, the labor of putting together this design. All right. So why does that bridal bouquet cost more? Easy answer. Because it is so much more work, time, attention, and worry than the market bouquet. If you want just a market bouquet, no problem. But you're going to get whatever I got, whatever colors I got, nothing custom, because that's what my market bouquets are. Once you want to say a flower type, a color, a combination, you're no longer in the market bouquet world. You have completely stepped out and you are now on another planet called custom wedding work. Okay? And so that's why we want to just make sure we're charging appropriately for that. So I hope that helps in terms of really recognizing your own value, but also you're not just charging more to charge more. You're charging more because you're giving more. Another way to put this, for those of us who aren't as passionate about weddings as maybe I am, you're charging more because they're taking more, okay? They're taking more time. They're taking more energy. They're requiring you to reply to them at the end of your long day out in the field. They're creating work for you. They're creating work for you, and so it costs. All right, that's that. All right, next question. What if the customer wants to provide the flowers? How do you charge? So many people had great feedback on this in my Facebook group, by the way. So this has come up a couple of times for me. Once with a really good friend of mine who was a florist, and she was like, what should I do? It was so long ago, and I don't fully remember what we did. But I do remember that it was very similar to a lot of what the suggestions were, which is just because I didn't buy the flowers doesn't mean that I should make a lower profit on the work. And so I want you to really think about that when somebody comes to you. So I had a similar situation where someone's parents had a farm, it was out in Colorado, so it was across the country. It wasn't in Vermont here, but they grew like tons of peonies. And she said, my mom is going to have a ton of peonies. Can we send them to you? Can we use them? So for me, the answer was yes, of course. But I did not reduce the price of my arrangements. And here's why. Because we're talking about this up front. We're talking about this, a year before the wedding, 6 months before the wedding, whatever the case may be, in terms of the planning timeline. I don't know what I'm actually going to get 3 days before the wedding or 4 days before the wedding. So if I'm giving you a discount, all those peonies are going to be these free peonies. Okay, great. So now I don't have to charge for peonies. So now I'm going to reduce the price of my centerpieces, my bouquets. Well, then what if the peonies don't come in the condition I need them? Now I have to go and buy peonies, and I didn't account for that. So if somebody is sending you some flowers that they have grown, my situation like the peonies, no reason to change the pricing really at all. They were just extra icing on the flower cake, right? I was able to put peonies like out the wazoo on a lot of things. I also composted a ton of peonies because they had like some kind of blight or disease on them that made them not only not looking good, but really like looking dead and diseased. Now, I don't have a flower farm, but again, if you grow flowers, you're accepting this product. Now you've accepted the disease. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's risk in any of this kind of stuff, in any of this accepting product from somebody else. So we'll go back to scenario like I was saying, my friend and also this person in the group. There's a family member who's a wholesaler, and they're going to provide all the flowers. Hey, cool. Again, who's going to make the recipes? How do they know how many stems of everything I need? I got to do that work. So that's work I got to do. So I got to get paid for that. Okay, who is going to unbox, unwrap, unsleeve, take rubber bands off, clean, cut, process the flowers? Who's going to fill the buckets with water? Me? Okay, so that's accounted for in my flower markup. So I still need a markup on those flowers. Just because I didn't put the cash out doesn't mean I don't need to get paid for my time for receiving all of these flowers. Also, what if something comes in damaged or you need to replace it? What if there's something that they get that you can get a better version of it at your supplier and you would rather use that? You want to have your own freedom as well to be able to purchase some things for this work if it's going to make it better, right? So we need to have a budget for that. What if things come and I need more? What is that going to cost? Then you're obviously designing them. Well, I need to get paid for that as well. So again, they can do this. If it's special for them, if they're like, we don't want to pay for the wholesale cost of flowers, fine. Then you can take the cost of the flowers off. That's not a problem because it's not coming out of my pocket. So no problem. But I still need to get paid what I would if I were booking this like a regular job. Because why else am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to have a reasonable hourly rate. I'm not doing this so that you can, you don't advertise and go, you know what? Bring your own flowers and I'll give you a discount. If you did that, then this is a different conversation. But that's not what you're offering. They're asking you to make an exception, to take a risk, because it's a risk. I don't care how good they say they are as a wholesaler. They may be amazing. They really may be an amazing wholesaler. But even if everything comes in perfect and on time, you are doing all of the work. So there's really not a huge advantage for you in them buying the flowers And the advantage for them is really not your problem. And I'm not saying that to just sort of like be funny or to be coy about it or something, but like, it's not your problem that they're looking to save money on the flowers. You know, you set a price, this is what it costs. So for example, if you charge $150 for a centerpiece, then the centerpiece is probably $150. And you're going to make up what the recipe is. And maybe they're going to get something that's maybe even slightly more full. Maybe this wholesaler is going to send more product than you asked for. Wow, how great. But again, you don't know. And it's all on you once the flowers arrive to do all of that work. So what is the discount? The discount is just, I didn't pay my supplier. There's not a real advantage for me, right? So it's not your problem to make their wholesale connection work for you. And maybe they'll find somebody else who can do it, or maybe you will find a way to make it work. As I recall, when my friend did get the flowers from the wholesaler that like hired her, the flowers were very pretty and it was fine, right? But we just don't know that up front. So what is then also the emergency plan? So what if the flowers come in and they're delayed at the airport, or it's a very hot day on the truck and they're damaged in shipping, or they come the way my FedEx guy brought flowers one time where it said which way up and he had it completely the other way. This way up. Well, here we're gonna leave them next to the garage, nice and absolutely the opposite. So things happen. You know, I want to say a different word besides things, but things happen and you need to be prepared for that, because if you weren't taking in their flowers and you were ordering and doing this yourself, you would deal with whatever happened, right? So if they're expecting you to deal with whatever's going to happen, you got to get paid the whole time, all right? And I hope that's really helpful. So most people did seem to agree, same price, they don't change anything. There's not going to be a discount because you got your own flowers. In fact, there should be a surcharge. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, think about it. Think about what you're trying to do to me. Okay, last question on the AI assistant. All right, this one I have feelings about. I like to be upfront. I like to be upfront when I have an angle or an agenda, and I will be honest, I am not a huge AI fan. I am not somebody who's personally looking out to try to bring it in and use it in my business, because if I don't, I'm going to fall behind. I don't believe that at all. My kid, way into it. He's built a huge AI assistant. So if you need somebody, maybe he can help you with it. But I'll tell you what I know from my son doing it, but also from an article that I listened to, or a news story I listened to recently. It takes so much time to program this AI assistant. My son is a kid. Okay, he's 14. He's got time. He's spent so much time, bless him, but working on this AI thing that he's working on. Good for him. I'm proud of him. I'm not dissing it. But I don't have that kind of time, and neither do you. And here's what this story that I heard recently really kind of solidified. A lot of companies who fired a bunch of employees because they're going to start using AI assistant bots and all these things. Guess what they're doing? They're hiring those employees back. Why? Because, again, the time it takes to train the AI assistant, every scenario, everything that might happen. Like, again, I'm not a programmer, but that's how this works. There's all kinds of if this, then that, right? You have to have all kinds of input going into the AI assistant in order for it to do its job. So these companies spent so much money and a lot of time working on these things, but then they're unreliable, which again, you don't have to have an opinion about AI to know if you're just listening factually to what's going on. AI is unreliable. AI makes things up. AI hallucinates things, which I don't know how, that just cracks me up. But it will make things up and it will steer you in the wrong direction. And maybe it's a small fraction of the time, but it's still a chance that could happen. So these companies, big companies that jumped right on to the, if you don't do AI, you're going to fall behind, they're bringing their employees back because the AI isn't doing what they need it to do. So with that in mind, with our business, so this person specifically asked, they want an AI assistant to help them like write estimates for clients and order flowers. You don't need AI for that. So first of all, shout out to my friend Luann Dixon, creator of the EveryStem app. This is how you can create orders very easily. If you have my flower math course, you know the steps for pricing. You just apply those exact same steps right in EveryStem. They are completely compatible things, right? So the steps I teach, how to price, how to mark up your flowers, how to charge your design fee, all those things work perfectly in EveryStem. And this is how you pull together a flower order. It is very easy, and you're supporting a human person with your subscription. And it's really like a pretty fantastic, like truly the only software that I promote ever. So I love it. EveryStem is how you can do those flower orders without the unreliable AI assistant. And then when it comes to estimates, you know, I understand the time it takes and how frustrating it can be to invest time up front, you know, creating an estimate for a client when you don't know if they're going to book or not. But I just want to tell you about my business, right? All these years, 25 wedding seasons, right? This is my 25th season. And I just had 2 consultations. I had one on Friday and one on Monday. These are personal connections that we're making during these calls, right? We are getting personal information. They're telling us about their biggest day, right? Or for one of the people I talked to, it was the stepmother of the bride. It's a big day in their family, right? It's not her big day, but it's a big day, and she's got questions and ideas, and she's relaying thoughts to me from the bride. I don't even know how in the world an AI assistant would be able to comprehend, synthesize, and actually put out an estimate that speaks to the heart of this client, because this is what we're trying to do. We are not just throwing out numbers. Your proposal, your estimate is a sales tool. It is your brand. It is your branding. It is the voice of your business. And so when you put out a quote, it needs to hit certain notes. One of them is, I heard what you said to me on this call. Another note is, oh, that specific word or adjective or phrase that you use, I'm using it too because I heard you. And here's evidence of it. We want to make sure that we have put in specific details where it matters, because for certain things, we're pretty open. We have some ideas, but we're really open. But then there's this one thing we really want to make sure happens. There's this one thing I really want to make sure gets mentioned. And that's what a human person who follows through on the whole thing, follows through on the whole process can do. But it is, you know, again, I'm not trying to be like, I don't know, stuck in the past and like AI is so negative or something, although I do kind of feel that way. But like, what do we say to this AI assistant? Hey, and it's very important that the client has, you know, a blue in the flowers, so make sure that you mention that. How will it interpret that? Right? It is so much easier for you to just type that out than to communicate in the quote itself, than to communicate that to your AI assistant. So this is where we don't want to try to create more work for ourselves because we think we're saving time. And that is precisely what I think an AI assistant in your flower business for estimates and ordering would be. It would be a time suck to figure out how many hours of input you're going to put in to make this thing hopefully work. And then for it to be unreliable, so much better to get your own streamlined system. So Friday, I spoke with a client, a potential client, had a nice conversation. It was the human to human interaction that created the trust and made the foundation for this potential sale. And then I wrote her a quote and sent it the same day. So if I can do that, you can do that too. Same thing with the person I talked to yesterday. We had a really nice conversation, very enthusiastic about like the ideas that we were sharing back and forth. Send that quote out within a couple of hours. So this doesn't have to be something that takes you too much time or is really laborious. The newer you are in business, the longer it's going to take you to send a quote. That's just called life, right? That's just called, we got to cut our teeth, we got to figure out how to do this, and it's not always going to be quick from the get-go. But when you have a system for how you write your proposals, how you send them out, how you go about communicating the important details, that's the thing you want to work on. Forget about the AI assistant. Streamline your process so that you can do it. Or if you want to hire in an employee so that you both have a consistent system. So it's not, oh, did you call that person back? Or did you do this? Oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I forgot to do that. It's part of your workflow and you follow those things. As always, if you need proposal help, if you need any of those things, I'm available to do one-on-ones and walk you through. We can evaluate your current process. But my wedding templates, available in my shop, realflowerbusiness.com. That's the easiest, most transparent way for me to share with you the process that I follow to quickly book clients, meaning I'm not putting 5 hours into a quote before they've even agreed to work with me, right? I'm giving them enough information to get to a yes, and then we figure some of these things out later down the line because plans change, color palettes change, flower preferences change. And so what we talk about in our very first call isn't always going to be where this thing ends, which is why we just need to make sure that we have a few key points where have a meeting of the minds, and then we can worry about all the really specific details closer to the event. But we have to book the client up front. We can't be waiting until it gets closer to the event because they're going to already have another florist. So you have to have a system that allows you to book without every single detail, without stem counts, right? I'm not making any recipes before the client is booked with me. So if you can streamline your process, that would be where to invest that time instead of spending 45 hours trying to teach an AI assistant how to maybe 50% of the time get this right. If big companies with big money and people who are programming their AI assistants couldn't make this work, I think we could just take a lesson from that instead of having to learn it ourselves and figure out how to make sure that you are the number one choice with your customers because of the connection, the brand identity that you're putting out, the way you make the customer feel. That's going to be way more important than streamlining that system so that you have AI kind of getting involved. I don't think anybody wants to talk about their wedding or their event or the funeral order that they're trying to place. I don't think anybody wants an AI assistant helping them with that. And to be clear, I don't think that's what this florist is asking. They're not saying, how can I get AI to interact with my customer? Except sending an estimate is interacting with your customer, you know? So we really do want to make sure that we're keeping the personal branded touch on everything that we're doing so that we're the clear choice for the right customers for us. We don't want to lose that. So automation, I know, has been like this, oh, automate. But like, here's the truth. the high-end wedding planners, they hate your automations. They hate it. They hate, capital H, your automations, because you're not following their flow. You're like emailing the customer with all this stuff that like they don't need to be bothered with because it's part of your automations. We want to think about now, especially, this is a perfect time to think about how we balance what we automate with what has a personal touch. Because my prediction is your personal touch is going to go a lot further in these upcoming years when everybody's getting a bot, right? When they actually talk to a person, get a personal reply, not a canned response. That's what your customers are going to be reacting to, okay? So I appreciate the question on the AI assistant. I fully acknowledge my bias, and I am fully willing to acknowledge my bias there, but I really do hope that it's helpful to you in thinking about that you really, maybe you aren't, being left behind. This person did say they tried to hire a real assistant who basically quit right away. Maybe that just wasn't the right person. Also, because this comes up quite a lot. So many florists love the idea, how do I get somebody else to write my quotes? How do I get somebody else to do this, right? I get it. But if this is your most important sales tool in the moment, I'll ask that question back to you. How does somebody else do that for you? How does somebody else do that for you? Unless they are in your company, right? And there's somebody that works in your company and this is what they do full time. We can't just farm this out to people. It just doesn't work that way, because I could send my quote to your customer, but your customer wants to hear from you, not me, right? So that's why I have a template that shows you how to have a really basic introduction to your proposal that you then personalize in your specific way. Because what works for one person isn't going to work for another if you're not selling to the same customer. We need to know who our customers are. That high-end luxury planner is selling to a different customer than the person who called me the other day and was like, we have a wedding in a couple of months, we're doing a bunch of bud vases. Totally different in terms of the way we want to approach them, the amount of information they need. See, AI can't parse that out the way that you can. So trust yourself, keep moving forward, and if you need help, come to me, realflowerbusiness.com. We can do a one-on-one call. You can come behind the scenes in my Patreon community to get a better look at how I do phone consultations, how I lead clients through all of these things. And as always, realflowerbusiness.com for all the stuff that I teach and sell, and tons of, free stuff on my blog. So reach out anytime if you need help. And I'll see you here next week for the next Tuesday Q&A. Let me look at the calendar and just see what next week is. Yeah. I'll be back next week. I might take 1 week off this month, but I don't know. Maybe I won't. All right. Keep doing beautiful work, and I will see you.